I was wrong. And it's never felt better to say that before. On this week's episode, we are going to talk to our new therapy division. Paul Elam and Diane Countryman are here with us. Alice All Access starts now.
Dunkirk at 0450.
All right. Paul, Diane, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I am very curious about how, when you both first looked at Atlas in the very, very beginning, right? Because I wrote about it, I would say it in Facebook posts or whatever. I said, we're going to be a travel nurse company, right? And that's it. Like, that's all. There are so many shiny objects out there, and Steve and I get distracted super easy sometimes, right? And we talk about it, we would talk to each other about it. Don't get distracted, stay focused. Our goal would be the very best travel nursing company we can be, right? How did that look on the outside when you first looked at us? And then I guess I can tell the story of how you came to us then.
I was kind of pre-warned one of my first conversations with Steve about that there was some doubt that they needed to get into other divisions and stuff like that. But he felt strong enough. He said that he wanted me to talk to some people, and he felt strong about it being a successful venture.
So, did you do any research ahead of time then? I assume you probably did.
I did a little bit, although mostly I just came along. He did all the background checking, so.
Makes sense.
I went along with that.
All right. Hey, that works for me. So, and it really just took one conversation, right? I mean, we sat here not here, it was actually just right over there in before anybody was in this building, right? They were still doing construction.
Correct.
And that's the first time I talked to you. And it was just one of those things where this isn't a shiny object. Like, this is legit. This is something that if we don't adapt with the times, if we don't change, we're going to get left behind, right? And you made that, without you knowing, I think you made that pretty clear that things are changing, right? How hospitals discharge patients and how long they're there, and how home care has really taken a step forward. It's not the same way it was even 4 or 5 years ago, right? It has really, talk about that a little bit.
Well, just the whole bundle care payment aspect of it. Therapy has become even bigger and bigger because time spent in the hospital, as everybody knows, has been cut down greatly by insurance companies. There, you get 1 or 2 days, 3 days at most, and then you're out. So then that second level of care, may it be a nursing home or home health or outpatient therapy, is becoming more and more relevant in the rehab and more important because they're leaving the hospital quicker.
Right, and that was, because we saw it, it kind of started, insurance kind of talked about it a little bit, and then you would, you'd go and you'd talk to a bank or you'd talk to, whoever, and they started mentioning things like that this is the way the industry was going, and then have those conversations with you. Oh my gosh, this is legit, right? This is real. And so I personally think, and I don't want to build you up too much, but right person, right time. Right?
Well,
it really, really was your experience as a therapist and your experience in the industry before this together made absolute sense for Atlas.
Thanks.
So talk about your experience a little bit. Enough about us. I was wrong. I am not embarrassed to admit it. This is the coolest thing. I'm super excited for this. Talk about each of your experiences before this.
Well, my experience is I went through the military as a therapist, as a PTA, physical therapy assistant. And I have overall like 25 years of experience as a physical therapist assistant, and then I've got about 9 years in the staffing industry. I started out in the staffing industry on the allied health side in radiology, and then I started a rehab division for another company. And then I went back into therapy, was a director of rehab for about 9 years, and now I'm back where I want to be.
You're back in the industry now.
Yeah.
So, and then your experience.
I actually have no experience in this industry so far. I graduated from PTA school, and I was a practicing physical therapist assistant in a nursing home. And so this is a big switch for me, but I'm excited to be here, and I think our experience as therapists is really going to be one of our edges for helping find the right fit and make this division successful.
So you guys worked together, is that correct? Before
Yeah.
this?
Correct.
Then, interesting. So, and I think you're absolutely right. I mean, not that, and we say this with nursing all the time, like some of our very best nurse recruiters have been nurses. Some of our very best nurse recruiters have not been nurses. But there's something to that boots on the ground, you know, having done the job, that when you're talking to somebody on the phone or text or Facebook message or whatever, that you have that connection. And I can only imagine that pool of therapists is much smaller than that pool of travel nurses.
Yeah, very much.
And so the better you can make those connections within that smaller pool, the better off you're going to be. So why? Why was now the right time?
I've always enjoyed the staffing industry, and I guess for lack of a better way to put it, I just couldn't find the right company when I got out of it before. I just felt like most staffing companies, they don't treat their people, both internally and externally, like they should. And I think that's what really pulled me to Atlas, is that, I mean, I had people that I would talk with at other companies that said, oh, before you look at anything in our company, you should talk to this company. And that was pretty impressive if someone's willing to do that. And then it became real clear, you know, meeting with Steve, you, Kurt, the other Steve, it was very clear that this was the type of place, the atmosphere, for lack of a better way to put it, the family type atmosphere that I wanted to come back into the industry for. I've always loved the staffing industry, especially combined with my knowledge and love for therapy, just was a perfect fit.
So now, as starting out, right?
Right.
Give me like, because how long has it been? 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Has it been
3
2
for me, 2 for her.
Right.
Yeah.
What's
Brand
the what's like the 2 week kind of narrative so far? Like how far? Where have you gotten so far? What have you taken away?
I just a better understanding of kind of how this business works and how to move forward. Healthcare is a lot different. You don't really focus on the networking aspect nearly as much. And sort of drawing people in. You are given patients that you have to go see, and so it's kind of a big turnaround. So just becoming familiar with networking and selling and writing a lot more than, and although there's a certain amount of selling as a therapist, because you're always trying to get people to do things they don't want to do.
And on our side, it's paperwork, right? I mean, that's,
Right.
that's really what it's going to be. It's
Right.
They're not going to want to do that. So I mean, it's not all that different.
It's a certain
then.
kind of selling.
Exactly.
Right.
So see, you had sales experience, and you didn't even know it.
Right.
So there you go. So okay, so for 6 years now, us being just completely focused on nursing, right? How is what we've done so far going to benefit you? And then in turn, how do you think therapy is going to benefit the nurse side?
I think it benefit us, it's real simple. The reputation and the love for Atlas out there on all the internet, everywhere, all the web presence, and just the relationship you guys have already built with nurse travelers out there is easy to pull over to the therapy side. I mean, we've already gotten quite a few referrals. Oh, hey, my wife works with the nursing side. She really enjoys it. I've been waiting for you guys to start therapy. I really want to get in with Atlas. I've heard of that a couple times already in this short period. So I think that's one of the things, and the great reputations in the hospital also. I mean, Atlas, anybody we talk to that they currently work with in the hospitals, they have a great reputation. They provide what they say they're going to provide. When they say they're going to do something, they do something. And that's a huge thing. I mean, if you're starting brand new as a therapy company, that you have to help build that reputation. And we still have to help uphold and build that reputation. But I think that's been the easiest thing so far, is I think that's brought right there to us, you know, the great name. If we can just uphold that, continue that, I think that'll help us a lot. What I think we bring to the nursing side is another aspect of being able to help staff facilities, to help build that partnership, grow that relationship even more, because we can help provide another need for all of our customers.
Sure, right. And you know what? And we heard that a lot. There was we're not booth people. Like, we don't do a ton of conferences, but the ones that we have done recently, especially on the hospital side. So where Seidner has gone out on the client manager side and to these conferences, it's, do you have a therapy division, right? And they also say, do you have a radiology division? Not nearly as important, but do you have a therapy division? Can you get us therapists? Can you get us OTs, right? And that was their first question, and that was kind of writing on the wall, probably 6 months ago, when he came back from the second one, and he was like, guys, I'm hearing the same thing over and over and over again. Like, if we're going to sign new contracts and, around or get contracts away from some of the larger players, right, that have held these for so long, these hospitals are frustrated with the lack of service they're getting from the larger players. They want to work with someone who, has a reputation like we do, but if you don't have therapy, then it doesn't help them, right? So that was kind of the beginning of all of that for us. So talk about how therapy has changed since, you started back military days, right? How has that changed, and how has it evolved? And then how is it going to continue to change outside of just how billing is done and stuff like that now?
I think therapy's come a lot more one-on-one. I think in a sense is why there's staffing needs a lot of places. A lot of your regulations have gone away from being able to treat multiple patients at one time. So obviously you take away that ability to treat multiple patients at one time, then that increases the need for staff.
Sure.
I think that's the biggest change. And I don't see that changing with the changes in Medicare and the different rules for Part B and Medicaid. I don't see that changing, and I think that's going to be the growing aspect of the therapy, is that the one-on-one. And then you always have increased therapy needs. You got the baby boomers, and I think it's going to become more and more as more people try to get more involved in athletics, exercise, stay more fit. That there's going to be that growing kick to have that, and to be in that, I think there's going to become that much more of your sports medicine type injuries, and require more care in the long run for therapy side.
What do you think grows faster? Is it inpatient therapy, outpatient therapy? Is it like the nursing home setting? Is it the home care setting?
I think if I had to predict, I'd say probably your biggest growth in the next 5 years is going to be the home care setting. And that comes back to what we talked about, where you're pushing people out of the hospitals. Here's your total knee, now you're going home, all right? You don't quite qualify to go stay at a nursing home.
Sure.
And all honesty, if you're going to ask a 63-year-old, would you rather go home and have home health and a home health nurse come in, or would you rather go to a nursing home? They're going to say, I'd rather go home and have a home health nurse come in.
Right.
So I think that's going to be your biggest growth.
What do you think?
I think that's right. Yeah, the hospitals aren't going to, if there's any way they can get you out, as long as you're medically stable, they'll do it. And so, people, if they don't have to go to a skilled nursing facility, they typically will not.
They won't. That's quite honestly, I've seen that. We've had a couple of our nurses that have had total knee replacement, right? And then walking the next day out of the hospital the day after, right? Or just, walking that day out of the hospital the next day at home, going. Right? And then, man, are you kidding me?
Time to go.
Jeez, that's changed a lot.
Yeah, and you just need that bridge from hospital to outpatient. In that type of situation, you need that probably a week or two where you really can't get out. You can't drive yet. You can't do that type of stuff to get to your appointments, so you do it in the home.
So you do it that way instead.
And I think the need for therapy is just going to increase also with just longevity and people trying to stay healthier longer. Therapy is a part of maintaining that.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. We are living longer than ever before, right? And so, but that doesn't mean our bodies aren't breaking down.
Right. You have to. Yep.
Exactly. So I feel that every day, by the way. So, and I'm not even that old yet. So, anyway, Paul, Diane, thank you so much. I'm I am super excited for this. Even 2-3 weeks in, I think we're already starting to see an effect, and I think that internally we're seeing an effect. Externally, I believe our nurses will start to feel the work that you're doing through those extra contracts, through those new contracts, those new opportunities, and then the therapists that have always said, like, if you ever started a therapy division, they're there. They're ready. It's here. So we're ready. We're ready to go. These guys are ready to go. So both of them you're both going to, even though you're director of the unit, of the division, you're running a desk, right? You're
Yes.
they both got time.
We're going.
Yeah. So give them a call. We'll make sure we get all your contact information right down here somewhere in the, and then in the notes section or the comments section, we'll have all of your contact information too. So thank you very
great.
much.
Awesome.
I am super excited. So
Glad to be here.
we'll see you next week.